Welcome to Esports Weekly with Coca-Cola. Every Friday, we bring you essential news, top headlines, and in-depth discussion from the world of esports. On today's show, Envious takes home the gold at DreamHack Cluj-Napoca CSGO. SK Telecom T1 dominates League of Legends Worlds. We preview Blizzcon, and we're joined by Complexity Jason Lake and Liquid Steven Aronset to talk about money in esports. This is Esports Weekly with Coca-Cola. Welcome back to Esports Weekly with Coca-Cola, and as always, let's recap the week's news with the refresh. SK Telecom T1 became League of Legends World Champions after defeating KOO Tigers 3-1 in the finals over the weekend in Berlin. SKT was not able to win the championship completely undefeated, as KOO Tigers was able to take advantage of some early game mistakes to win Game 3 of the series. However, this simply angered Faker, who unlocked his final form and decimated the Tigers with his rise in Game 4. If you include their regular season record, SKT actually went 32-2 in 2015, arguably the greatest league team of all time. Team Envious defeated Na'Vi in the finals of the CSGO Major in Cluj-Napoca over the weekend, taking home $100,000 for their win. This marks the first major win for Kenny S despite his long and storied history in Counter-Strike. Thorin on Twitter echoed the thoughts of most analysts when he said, "The majority of analysts and casters I spoke to prior to DreamHack Cluj expected TSM to win the tournament." TSM was knocked out 0-2 by NIP in the quarterfinals, and all three North American teams were eliminated in group stages, showing the region has a long way to go to catch up to the top teams around the world. Team Secret defeated Vici Gaming 3-2 in the finals of the Nanyang Dota 2 Championship, claiming $109,500 for first place. Team Secret underwent a massive restructuring after the International this year, only keeping Puppy on the team. They've been having a lot of success lately, winning MLG New Orleans against Evil Geniuses just a couple of weeks ago. After 4 years with the CLG League of Legends squad, AD carry Yilang Doublelift Peng has been released by the team and has already signed a new deal with TSM. For years, Doublelift was the face of CLG, and his removal from the team comes as a shock to a lot of fans. It's been widely reported that Doublelift was not removed due to his play, but rather due to personality conflicts and communication issues with the team. For TSM, a team in complete rebuilding mode, this represents a critical step forward towards a new roster. Finally, Esports Weekly is headed to Blizzcon this weekend in Anaheim. We'll be bringing you interviews with the top players and giving you an inside look into the event. Be sure to check out IGN and follow us on #EsportsWeekly the entire weekend and let us know what sort of content you want to see. What's up? Welcome back, everyone. I'm Kevin Naki, joined alongside by special guest host Alex Golden Boy Mendez. And like we mentioned in the refresh, the League of Legends World Championship Finals were held in Berlin over the weekend. SK Telecom T1 took out the KOO Tigers 3-1.
Now the cool part is, folks, that we were on the ground in Berlin all weekend long, bringing you interviews with casters, players, fans, all that good stuff. And you can catch all of that at IGN.com or YouTube.com/IGN. We made a special LoL Worlds wrap-up video, and we like to show you, so check it out.
Hello once again, I am Taylor Koch here at the League of Legends World Championship Finals, and we are outside of the Mercedes-Benz Arena where all the fans have gathered waiting to get inside.
Please welcome the finalists for the 2015 League of Legends World Championship. Sven, Hojin, Kuro, Ray, Gorilla, Wisdom, No Way, KOO Tigers. Their opponent, Mami, Bengi, Faker, Easy, Koma, SK Telecom T1.
Who are you calling right now? Who's going to take this thing home?
It's going to be the Telecom Nerds. They're on a 17-game winning streak dating all the way back to the regular season.
We didn't expect a whole lot from KOO Tigers coming into the World Championship. We said it was the weakest Korean team. KT would be above them. We were really wrong because KOO Tigers showed up.
We're about to find out right now who's going to get the momentum in Game 1.
Welcome to Summoner's Rift.
Martin into the fight now. Kuro and Prey are the targets, and that's going to be Kuro going down. SKT seemingly pulling this one back in their favor. Faker's rage. Faker over the wall. Are they going to be able to take down Kuro? The Wild Growth is down. The first one is Gorilla. SKT is running down the lane. Hojin can't even help on the outside right now. Somehow, KOO gets out, only losing Prey. No, there goes Hojin. SKT is 2 wins away from the Summoner's Cup.
SKT is one of the few teams on the map that they will not give up anything. Game 1, they beat Ku around the map with 3 losing lanes, which is just absolutely insane.
Smab is forced to flash out of this one. This is the fight they were waiting for, but SKT danced it out perfectly. The laser across, it's gonna be going to Bengi. SKT gets Baron for a second game in a row. They're not stopping. Bang jumps over the wall for another kill, and it looks like it's gonna be an ace in the base. SK Telecom T1 are 1 win away from being your 2-time world champions. Faker now in a real sore spot. It looks like he'll be the next to go down. A bit of a fumble Ruski here coming in from SKT, and Ku are gonna pick up some very nice kills. This is going to be Marin going down as well as he's too far from home. Over the wall. Bang's going to go down now. The fly in. The lunge from Smap. A few more hits. And the Ku Tigers will break the perfect record at Worlds for SKT. We're going to a Game 4.
Ku just swept the place with SKT and brought a total surprise for everyone, I think.
I'm happy to see that Ku Tigers are actually showing weaknesses in SKT that seemed unstoppable.
Oh, wait a minute. He's going to be in range a little bit more. Spams out those room prisons. That's the tower hitting. Marin trying to give him the time of day, but it's a hit from Faker. And still a flawless game of 8-0 as we just hit 30 minutes. SK Telecom looking to take down the final Nexus turrets. It does not look good for Kuro and his team. Ku Tigers are falling. SKT will be your first ever 2-time world champions.
We're going to be a 3-0 final, but we're glad Ku came through and provided some good bit of punchback.
Everyone knows that SKT is the favorites to take the whole thing, and seeing that one team in the finals can take it off is probably like a very good feeling for them.
The first 2 games, SKT, they were absolutely pummeling Ku. As soon as Ku came back, the crowd were absolutely on their side. It was so good. The atmosphere was incredible.
Blizzcon is here, and with it come the finals of 4 different Blizzard titles esports circuits. StarCraft 2, Hearthstone, World of Warcraft, and Heroes of the Storm will crown world champions in each of their respective games this weekend.
That's right, Kevin, but the thing that people are most excited about is the Hearthstone World Championship, because who doesn't love a little RNG in their life? Now, in this week's group matches leading up to the event, Tice from Europe has the strongest record. He's looking fantastic going into playoffs. But here's the thing, all but one of the players from the Americas got nixed. That's it, they're out of the tournament. But of course, this tournament will feature a $100,000 prize pool and, in my personal opinion, what's more important, the coveted Hearthstone World Championship prize.
Now, the players actually already know each other's decks. They weren't allowed to switch between the group stages and the playoff stages that are happening this weekend, so they've already been able to craft a little bit of strategies, and we can even make some predictions. And Tice, with his control decks, and especially his Freeze Mage, look really strong right now against the aggressive decks that the Asia-Pacific region has been bringing out. Of course, those players still, though, could, just get the right combination of plays, that right draw, and still get a win, though.
True, but all 3 players in the Asia-Pacific regions are actually capable of being able to pull off those miracle aggro deck games. And, we'll see if that's going to be the case. They may be able to get the perfect draw. Who knows? But, of course, it's going to be very, very difficult to stop them. That's another thing to keep in mind. Now, there was some controversy, though, in the StarCraft 2 scene, of all things, as the only non-Korean player in the competition, Lil Bo, actually made it to the round of 16, but then admitted that he actually didn't practice Heart of the Swarm leading into the BlizzCon finals. Instead, he's been practicing Legacy of the Void, which is a new expansion that's going to be coming out for StarCraft 2. And honestly, just to be candid for a moment, I feel like that is just, it's BlizzCon, man. Like, you have to prepare for BlizzCon, right?
Oh yeah, and a lot of people in the community certainly made it known that they weren't very pleased with the performance that he gave. But he did defend his actions on Facebook, saying that, quote, "I am practicing to be the best, as I said, but I don't want to be the best of a game that nobody is playing anymore. It doesn't make any sense to me." And he went on to add that he has been training diligently for Legacy of the Void. It's just that he didn't play Heart of the Swarm coming into this event. Now, the other results of the tournament have been pretty unsurprising. A lot of 3-0s, and Kespa players are doing pretty well for themselves. Most people expect that SK Telecom's T1 Innovation is going to take the event.
Yeah, and it's a very real possibility there, of course. He's looking absolutely fantastic, just based on the matches that I've seen so far. But here's the thing. Blizzard, and this is actually pretty awesome, has been making a big push to reinvigorate World of Warcraft PvP esports, Kevin. It's awesome. I remember back in the MLG days when I used to watch the World of Warcraft tournaments right next to the Halo tournaments. It's awesome, and I'm really happy to see that being the case now. And here's the thing, right? Europe has been dominating the road to BlizzCon, man. They look fantastic. And in fact, the guild Solari Gaming actually has 3 of the top teams.
That's crazy.
I think they're all, I think it's just absurd, right? But it's awesome to say the least, because that obviously Solari Gaming believes in those players. They believe in those teams. And speaking of which, their squad competing as SK Gaming at the EU finals, well, they're looking pretty good to win BlizzCon altogether.
Yeah, certainly. A lot of people think that's going to be the case. Congratulations to Solari for fielding just such strong teams across the board.
Right.
But we also have Heroes of the Storm to talk about as well. Navi and Cloud9 have already secured themselves automatic places in the seeds in the playoff stage for this weekend from the groups. Now, Navi advanced past Team DK from Korea, who was widely considered by a lot of people to just be on a different level than anyone else coming into this event. That really was not the case. Navi took them out, and they're looking really strong. Cloud9 as well, they're looking really good. They took out Team Dignitas en route to their guaranteed spot in the seeding stage of the playoffs.
Navi's looking fantastic, honestly, and I think that they have a great chance of even being a lock for the finals at this point, and a lot of people feel the same way. But the question is really about whether or not Cloud9 can defeat Team DK on the other side of the bracket. As a matter of fact, caster Jay Skillywee Gluck has high hopes for Tempo Storm, as she said that, "I'm hoping taking a game off of DK has lit a fire in them to keep up that resurgence despite the issues that have come to light in the past month."
Yeah, as we reported last week on the show, Tempo Storm's Heroes of the Storm team has actually had a lot of personality conflicts on it. They've even publicly said that they would have made roster changes months ago had BlizzCon rules actually not allowed them to do that. Esports Weekly is going to be on the ground in Anaheim this weekend covering BlizzCon. We'll be posting up videos all weekend long on IGN.com interviewing players, developers, and fans of the show. Make sure you get at us at #EsportsWeekly on Twitter and let us know what you'd like to see. For our roundtable this week, we sat down with the owner of Team Complexity, Jason Lake, and co-owner of Team Liquid, Steven Aronset, to discuss the League of Legends World Finals and the current state of money in the esports industry. We really wanted to understand how teams and organizations need to diversify their revenue streams to maintain stability, where esports is headed next, and what these team owners think about team franchises in esports. We've got a few of those highlights from the roundtable here. Take a look. How does this money get spent, though? We have a lot of money that's coming in through esports. You guys sponsor a lot of different teams. Something that's actually been talked about in the past. On our very first episode, we had people come in and say that if a game succeeds and you have a lot more revenue coming in for one particular team, for a lot of teams, that was League a few years ago, whenever that took off, that money doesn't necessarily get invested back into that League division. It can oftentimes get invested back into a different game, or what is the next upcoming game, or how are you going to support more aspects of the of your operation. So how do you guys split the difference between ensuring that when a player gets popular, they're fairly taken care of, they're fairly compensated, and also expanding and growing the rest of your business at the same time?
And this argument's been used a lot. There's been a lot of discussion about a player union and how players are so overlooked and players are so neglected. And I'm not against player union in any stretch the imagination, or association, I think would be a better word. If done right, the players do need to move that direction as the sport matures. But I think what you see more often is when money comes pouring in from a certain gaming title, people in our type of position start seeing those numbers, they start seeing the eyeballs, and it's kind of our job to move and gravitate towards that game. So the more demand for players, player salaries always go up. It's historically proven. If a game starts taking off, the player salaries take off. And why is that? It's because we're so damn competitive. People are saying, oh, the owners are getting rich and driving Ferraris and the players aren't making any money. We were talking before the show started. We have a bunch of gamers that make a lot more money than we do.
Yeah, absolutely.
And as the competition for these gamers increases and continues on this upward momentum, I mean, the gamers are going to get their piece of the pie. I'm not advocating against an association or whatever, but I see a lot of these comments on Reddit and other places where they're like, oh, the poor gamers, they're starving in their mom's basement. And that's simply not the case. If your game takes off and you're damn good at your game, the money's going to find you.
Okay, so let's expand on that. You said the magic words. You said Players Association, and we should talk about it at some point. If not, then to just talk about salaries. There have been team organizations that have been tentatively getting together to try and force demands upon certain tournaments and things like that. Where are we going with any sort of a regulating body, whether it's a Players Association, it sits over the top? What are your guys' predictions for that? Some people say it's an eventuality and it's just going to happen. Some people say, no, it has to happen right now. Where do you fall on that?
I want to see more regulation, and the sooner the better. I want to see more leadership amongst all the different industry players. So the players, the team owners, the developers, there needs to be more governance on how we run these tournaments, how players are treated, how tournaments should be run, just kind of minimum standards that we all find acceptable. To your earlier point, though, with regards to player salaries and trying to figure out how all of that works out. I mean, I want nothing more than players to make as much as possible. I think the tougher question that we haven't asked yet, maybe, is how do you discern the difference between sustainable versus non-sustainable, right? So in certain regions, if somebody wants to come in and just spend let's say $100 million. And just what does that do? Well, can you run a $100 million business in esports in a profitable way if you're paying players $5 million a year? Mm-hmm. Can you do that? And that's non-sustainable versus a sustainable model. So that is, to me, I think, the tough part of figuring it out, because at least I can speak for TL. I mean, we do an amazing job on paying our players, and we always try to, and the market rates are like changing every week. It's like trying to figure out what they are, right? But as soon as a new big revenue source comes in, well, we got to siphon off a percentage for our players. That's the way we do things. But it's trying to compete with when it's not that, and it's not driven off of the revenue coming in, and it's off of outside investment.
And what he said about sustainability, I think, is really important to emphasize. I said earlier I'm very bullish on the financial future of esports, and I am, but I want to make a prediction about next year, 2016. 2016, in my personal opinion, is going to be the year of venture capitalists coming in on the team side. We've seen a lot of venture capitalists over the years, and most of it's kind of been in either like software or with the leagues themselves. Next year, you're going to start to see venture capitalists come in on the team side, and that is also going to benefit the players, but there's dangers. There's warning, Will Robinson going on here. When a flood of money comes into a space, that can create large bubbles and it can create problems, because Joe Smith comes out of Hollywood, with $80 million and starts offering our gamers these huge salaries. It looks all great and people are making money for a little while, but is it sustainable? History would prove in the business world it's not. And history would prove in the business world a flood of money, if not carefully managed and properly apportioned, can damage an industry. If we have a lot of new money coming into the space that doesn't care so much about gaming as they do capitalizing on the hot girl at the current prom type of situation, there's going to be a lot of problems. So while I am bullish, I'm trying to sound some alarm bells for people that care about such things and follow such things. Be very careful, because this flood of money can end up hurting esports and setting us back rather than pushing us forward.
That's all the time we have for this week's episode. Esports Weekly with Coca-Cola returns next week with a special in-depth conversation about the exploding Counter-Strike global offensive scene with Scott Sir Scoot Smith. Get in your questions for him by hashtagging Esports Weekly on Twitter and dropping us a line. We'll see you next week.